counselor and author. I've been a counselor for 45 years in New York. I have a Bachelor of Science degree, and I'm credentialed by the state of New York. Since I moved to Florida, I have reciprocity to Florida with my credentials. But I want to focus on my books. Drug Addiction and the Most Powerful Enemy Against It, A Recovering Sober Mind is one of my books. My first book was Escape from Critical Confusion, a very educational book, autobiographical textbook. My second book is Black America Breaking the Code. And my third book is Drug Addiction, the Most Powerful Enemy Against It, A Recovering Sober Mind. And let me bring it up higher so you can see it. Drug Addiction, the Most Powerful Enemy Against It, A Recovering Sober Mind, which is a very powerful book. All of my knowledge, my 45 years of studying the drug addicted mind, my bachelor's degree, all the psych courses in there, and also I have a history of 12 and a half years of intravenous heroin and alcohol addiction myself. I've been sober since 1973, 46 years. And all of that knowledge combined is in this book. And, you know, the book can be used for prevention as well as recovery. Because in the first chapter, I talk about how drug addiction starts, the stages of progression towards chemical dependency, which any person who hasn't used drugs can understand that it starts off as fun and leads into a life of hell. So this can be used for prevention. Then I talk about a detox, because for the past 30 years, from 1987 until actually 1987 to 2018, 31 years, I was a counselor in the detox and rehabilitation program in Rockland County, New York, at Good Samaritan Hospital. And, you know, so I've really studied how people think in detox, the confusion, should I use again? Should I not use again? Do I want to go through this? All of these things that people go through. Then I focus on rehab, what it's like to be in rehab, how when the mind starts to clear up from that confusion of that daily bombardment of drugs in the brain and the heart, the liver, the lungs, throughout the body, how it controls the thinking, and the person is in a semi-conscious state. So as the mind starts to clear up, you regain consciousness where you're aware of what you're thinking, you're aware of what you feel, and you're aware of what you're doing. But because of that damage, you have to heal from that damage. So there's a way to focus on that keeps that person focused on recovery. So there are many different aspects that I focus on in the book. And as we know, drug addiction right now is one of the most deadly problems in America. The last stats I saw was from 2017, where 72,000 people died from opioid and heroin overdoses. 72,000. And the year before, 2016, 64,000 people died. And the problem is worse today in 2019. I haven't got the stats from 2018 yet, but the problem is even worse. So we want to attack this, and there's a lot of different ways that people are trying to attack it. And, you know, the core of addiction, as some of us know, is in the mind. That's where the core of addiction is. The seat of addiction is in the mind. So we have to learn how to use the mind to overcome drug addiction. As we know, or may not know, when a person first starts using drugs, it's a fun thing, you know, and that's when the addiction starts to take over. It starts to train the brain how to think slowly over time. It trains the brain to react to its commands. Then it conditions the mind to react to its commands. And in this book, I talk about how to retrain the mind and a healthy recovery way of thinking. And that's what we want to do. We want to retrain those of us who have an addiction problem. We want to retrain our brain and mind how to think. You know, we want to focus on strengths, not weaknesses, but strengths. A lot of people, even in the field of treatment, focus on the drug addicted person's strengths. Hey, all the time, oh, that person's addict. They can't do this, they can't do that. Well, if your brain is drugged with those powerful chemicals, heroin, just imagine if some of you guys out there have been intoxicated from alcohol, maybe, or, you know, I don't know, some beer, wine, and you know how confusing that can be when you're intoxicated. And if you don't have an addiction problem, it doesn't take much to become intoxicated. Now just imagine that multiplied by 10 times as much alcohol. Heroin, 10 bags of heroin every day for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. How much control the drug is going to have over the brain and that conditioning where it reacts to it. So what we want to do is we want to teach people. I want to teach people in this book, and I'll be talking about addiction continuously as I continue the YouTube. I will be teaching people how to beat drug addiction. The best way to really get into it is to get the book and then follow me as I'm teaching so you can see exactly how to beat it. Students who are going to school for recovery, this book could be extremely helpful to you. Professors in colleges, you can, take this book and look at my perspective as opposed to some of the other authors' perspectives and see the difference. See the difference in how you really focus on the strengths of people, not their weaknesses, but their strengths. And we have a tendency, most people in the field have a tendency to focus on the weaknesses. We want to focus on a person's strength. That's what's going to be this. Humans are the most powerful beings on the planet. We're more powerful than anything. Not heroin, not crack, not alcohol, not benzos, not methamphetamine, not marijuana. We are more powerful, 1,000 times more powerful than any of those drugs. However, if we put them into our body, it becomes a poison, a powerful poison that takes control over the thinking. So what we want to do, and we will do, is learn how to overcome this addiction by using some of our natural strengths and self-help groups and counseling, professional counseling, sitting in groups, individual therapy, listening to lectures, watching videos related to this, and keeping that mind focused on the prize of staying sober. See, we can't focus, if you focus on the obstacles of coming out of addiction, you're going to have a very hard time. It's going to be difficult anyway, but you're going to have a very hard time. It doesn't matter how hard it is. That's all it means is that it's hard. It doesn't mean that the addicted person can't beat it. It just means that it's hard. Humans have never been afraid of obstacles. We've never been afraid of diseases. We've always been ready to fight diseases, no matter what, no matter how bad they are. Polio, leprosy, cancer, you name it, we are willing to fight. Human beings are explorers. We're daring and we're conquerors. We conquer everything. The sky, the sea, the land, the animals, illnesses, and we're going to conquer drug addiction. That's what we're going to do without a shadow of a doubt. So if you want to purchase this book or any of my books, you can go on my website, jharris.westwoodbookspublishing.com, jharris.westwoodbooks with an S, publishing.com. Or you can go on Amazon, you can go to Barnes & Noble, they're there. So I will be talking more and more about addiction as we go along. As I mentioned earlier, we know that drug addiction starts with that first high, that first time. And the problem with that first high is that you like it, nothing happens, you don't get sick, you don't go to jail, and sometimes people actually get sick, especially with heroin, throwing up, that first time, and somehow or another we make up our mind to go back again because the euphoria was pretty good. So with that first part, that's when the addiction is going to start to train that brain. Part of training means to guide growth and mental development of a person. So slowly it trains you how to think and how to react to its commands. So slow when you come off the drugs, it's going to be a slow process also for you to be healed completely. Part of the process means step by step. It also means many changes. So when you come off drugs, you're going to go through many changes, irritable for no reason, angry for no reason, confusion, depression. All of these things are part of the healing process. And when we understand that, it helps us to keep our eye on the prize. I know I have to go through this, but there's so much reward for me going through this healing process. So we will continue And I'll be back tomorrow if YouTube allows me, and we'll talk more. So remember, drug addiction, the most powerful enemy against it, A Recovering Sober Mind by Joseph B. Harris. jharris.westwoodbookspublishing.com. Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, you can purchase this book. So I hope you purchase and enjoy and learn. God bless. Judith, I got it.